Everybody, welcome to Find Your Fit with Deanna. I'm Deanna, and today I wanted to share with you three things that are really key. I have noticed, according to training and research that we do, but also the things that practically make a difference for the clients I've been working with over these almost 3 decades that I've been doing this work. And so those three things are making sure, one, we have clarity in our goal. I'll expand on that. Making sure, second, we have some flexibility in our planning, and I'll expand on that, of course. And then finally, speaking about accountability in perhaps a little bit of a different way than one might think about accountability in more of a traditional sense. So first and foremost, looking at that goal, this is the thing that informs all other things. So if your goal is something that is not quite clear, doesn't have a really sort of well-defined outcome, meaning what does it look like when you achieve the goal? How do you know you have achieved the goal? If you can answer those questions, then the planning process becomes easier. But it would be kind of like, when you have gotten home after a busy day at work and you think, oh my goodness, I'm really hungry. I've got to make some dinner. And your dinner's the goal, but you don't know how much time you have. You don't know what the ingredients are. You don't know what you've got in your fridge or what's in the cupboard. It's really hard to make dinner when you don't know those particular things. When you have an outline or a recipe, it's much easier to say, oh, I need this, this, and this, and here away we go. And your goal achievement with fitness is really so much the same. And so one of the reasons that's really important, especially from sort of my point of view as your trainer and your coach, to know particularly what you're looking for is to make sure it's feasible for also what I hear is your stage of life. So what I mean is, if somebody says, I just want to move a little bit more, life is busy, kids and supporting parents and blah, 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 great. We can easily design something that helps you move a little bit more. And if somebody says in the same situation, right, has similar family commitments, for example, but says, hey, I'd really like to train to run a marathon. I want to run and do a triathlon. Then you know what? Things look quite different. And we would really need to define what is the outcome. So if you are looking at running a marathon, the outcome is that you've run the marathon. So then we have to step back and say, what does that actually take? Are you willing to sacrifice family time, to sacrifice, maybe some social time, that type of thing over the next while, because that's what's going to take to get you to that goal, for example, right? So it's really important that you look at, and this is where I see successful behavior change, when we're really honest, and I don't mean that in any kind of manipulative way that we wouldn't be, but we have what we hope we can do, and then we have to say, okay, what's actually realistic for the stage of life I'm in, right? So when we match what we want out of our health, wellness, and fitness with what's realistic or what we're able to give, there's always give and take, right? What we're able to give up, sacrifice, change, then we can actually create a more realistic plan that's going to be more long lasting, okay? So define the goal really well. That is the first step. Second, the flexibility component. Now, I don't mean like being able to stretch, and though that's really important, but that's not the flexibility way we're talking about right now. And so we have to be flexible with our training. When we are so rigid to say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, etc., must look exactly like that. I don't know about you, but there has not been many times in my life that I have been able to be that rigid, because life does its thing, right? It lifes, and then we have to figure out how to adapt. Even at a time I was an athlete and training most days of the week, and I would still have to be flexible, right? Some days I'd have to cover, I was training for kickboxing and international competition at the same time as I was running a gym. And so maybe I was supposed to do a particular workout on a day for my training, but then I was called for work. I was called to cover an extra class or two, meaning a fitness class or two. Well, then I had to be flexible with this training component, right? It was not the right fit to do that any longer on that day, but I still needed that workout in. So we had to then be flexible in terms of what that would look like to get it done. And so that's what I mean. I think sometimes when I talk to people about being flexible with their workouts, they think that I'm like, ooh, you can just let yourself off the hook and skip that. That's entirely not what I mean at all. What I mean is, what are the things that you need to accomplish in that week to stay on track for your fitness goal? And then how do we tweak that? What's the backup plan? So one of the things you've often maybe heard, you've maybe heard me say it, there is different underlying tones of this statement, but never miss a Monday. Never miss a Monday means for a lot of folks, in the way I don't love it, that there is shame attached to you not doing what you committed to on a Monday. That's not what I like. That's not what I agree with. The reason I like to say don't miss a Monday, or whatever the start of your week is because it does set a good tone, kind of gets things going. Action builds momentum first. Second, it gives you flexibility in the rest of the week. So if you have said, I'm going to work out 3 times this week, and we aren't able to start that till Wednesday, you've got a real small window then to accomplish that goal. But if you make sure the start of your week has your first workout, you're on a good track, right? If Tuesday things go completely sideways in life or work or whatever the case is, you've still got a couple of days or a couple of workouts left, but you've got the rest of that week, right? So flexibility is really important, and keeping a flexible mindset, because it's not either or. It's not either I have stuck to this program 100% or nothing. I'm out, I failed, I might as well not continue. That's not the case. So it's thinking about, if I have done this on this day, it means that I would need to do this tomorrow. Or if I ticked this off, that means that I'm able to sort of have a rest day tomorrow, whatever the case is, right? That flexibility is really key. And then the accountability component is really, really important. Again, surface level accountability is who is making sure you show up. So is that your trainer? Is that your group fitness instructor? They are sort of expecting to see you. So we go when other people rely on us, when you've made, pardon me, you've made that appointment, we show up. So yes, and that is a really useful strategy for a lot of people, right? That they're like, oh goodness, I made an appointment with my trainer and that's going to make me show up. Yeah, for sure. What else? How else can we think about being accountable? So there is a component of self-accountability that I want you to think about. And so why did you set the goal that you did? Yes, so if you say, hey, I want to improve my fitness. Yes, and I want to know what improving your fitness means to you. Why is it so important? Like for me, when I'm kind of going, hey, I want to make sure that I'm lifting, I'm doing my cardio. I'm turning 50 in just a couple of short weeks, my goodness. And you know what? I feel privileged to be able to do the work I do and keep moving in the way that I do, but that doesn't come without effort. And so it is really important that if I want to keep moving and lifting and playing sports and all of that, I've got to be accountable to myself to make sure I do the workout. Even if I had a trainer waiting for me, ultimately I could bail on that trainer. And what does it matter to the trainer, right? It matters to me. There's a self-accountability component. You feel better, you sleep better, you move better, you maybe work better or parent better or partner better when you have attended to your health, wellness, and fitness, right? So yes, accountability and that sort of self-accountability, circling back to how we started, looking at that goal. Why is that goal so important to you? Okay. So those 3 things: set a really clear goal, spend a bit of time defining that goal, set up a plan second that is flexible, that allows life to mix in with your fitness. And third, really looking at accountability, yes, to others, and most importantly, to yourself. As always, I am cheering you on to get moving in whatever way works for you, to get out of it, whatever it is that you need. See you soon.